without further ado, 3, 2, 1, go. Okay, so here we go. Welcome to the island of Westica, which sort of resembles North America, I guess, but we play Storm Jackson, who is this dude who is trying to save the island from this one mean guy called Skuljagger, who has been having the entire population captive for like 10 years, and he wants to put a stop to that, so that's what we're trying to do. And we fight lots of soldiers, and we collect these gems in order to stay alive, basically. It's this Sonic-like system. Like in Sonic you have the rings, and then here you have those gems. Few differences though. In Sonic you're able to retrieve your rings, and in this case if you lose gems you will lose them forever and you won't be able to get them back, so that's not terribly convenient. But thankfully you have two sets of gems, which are the green gems, which I just collect, and the red gems, which actually fire off projectiles. So doing that, having that is certainly a good thing. So let's grab another one over here. Now we just walk over this bridge. It's a very long bridge, but there's cannons over here. You can fire off these cannons, by the way. I obviously don't do that because it costs me time, but you can actually defeat whatever's in the background, and sometimes you can get extra lives from that, or I believe additional gems, if I'm not mistaken. I've never really properly tried it out, but it also took me forever to realize that you could actually fire off these things. So oh crap, sorry, I was reading chat. Is the audio still working, or is there some audio desync? I hope it's not too bad. Why does the... oh. Crap, I should have taken care of that. Why does the sword shrink after he attacks? Well, let me get into that really soon, because it's kind of interesting, perhaps. Oh, this is not going well, okay. Gotta take it a bit safer here, because yeah, as soon as you don't have any gems anymore, you will lose your life, so I'm gonna pick these up just in case. Got a rough start, but it doesn't have to be too much of a worry. Just gotta get ourselves back on our feet again. Okay, that's the end of the first level. Okay, so this part, you know, in between they sort of give us a bit of backstory, but it's not a whole lot as compared to what's in the manual, because there's a really big manual that's included with this game, which is like 80 pages long, and a lot of it is dedicated to the full storyline, which is a pretty fun read as far as I've seen. And it does explain a lot of things, what's going on in the game, basically, without it really being shown in the game. So that's quite interesting. And you see these fragments, so this fragment just now tells us we're in a warehouse and there's this Kiltish army that is out to get us. So, oh, crap. Okay, so that's probably a good time to go into that. I think it was referred to in chat just now. If I duck an attack, it doesn't always show me actually using the sword, and it doesn't always use the sword that well, which is kind of a weird thing, and it's an input thing, if anything. And just so you know, this is actually the best bubblegum you can get in this game. Like, it's super OP, especially against bosses, so I hope to use this against as many bosses as I can. Yeah, most of it is story. There's also references to these secret areas that you can get to. The game itself doesn't really tell you that, but as far as I know, every single level has these. So it's a pretty fun thing if you want to check that out. Although sometimes I accidentally run into them because sometimes it happens when you duck in front of a barrel and then you try to break it open, and that's when you get sucked into this area, this secret area. So here we are on the streets of Tuskamesh, which is one of those cities. And there's these flying ninjas. According to the story, they were called black masks, but I like to call them flying ninjas because that is what they look like to me. Okay, gotta make sure to destroy all of these. I'm really close to the end though. Yeah, actually, I was streaming this last night and someone mentioned it, that he thought it looked like this purple Kirby type of thing, which almost looks like it. It almost looks like a Kirby. So, normally speaking, if I didn't have the bubblegum, I would have needed to walk backwards and do hits as I tried to stay away from him as much as possible from this boss. And that way I can sort of make sure to make sure to finish, because if you just stand still, you can't really damage boost a lot of this game, so that will basically lead to death. So with that taken care of, we are now onto this ship that we have snuck on, in disguise apparently, even though you don't instantly see the disguise. By the way, I was supposed to go up there, I believe. Yeah, this is where I take the seals, I totally forgot about that. That's fine. Okay. So yeah, this is pretty much the fastest way to go. You can actually climb up even higher in these sails, but it's not actually needed because this is where you already head to the exit of this level. Yeah, crewman, crewbird. These passwords are really cool. Like, it's a word-based password system, so if you go into the passcode screen, you have all of these words that you can choose from and form a phrase. And yeah, so and that makes you able to start over again from a certain chapter. Not all chapters have a password, however, so that's kind of weird. Like, they have passwords for like half of the game, and then they sort of abandon it as if it never existed, which is kind of strange. Also, speaking of disguises, there's this invincibility mask, which is really cool. Like, I'm literally invincible, so I can just walk wherever, and these snap reds, as they are called, I can just pass them by. But I can't really climb ropes, so I have to wait until the effect wears off and I can get back to using ropes again. Also, nice little skip there. That's how platforms work, right? So, you saw me pick up this great bubblegum. I do wind up doing that because I will use this again for the next boss fight that's coming up after this level. Yeah, the music is really good. Like, it's not necessarily varied. If you really look at it, there's only like 5 different tracks or so, but they're pretty good for what they are, and they have really good bass lines as well. The bass is especially rocking, I think. This one too is this throbbing bass. But throughout the game, all they do really is well, pitch it up and down, I guess. So it's basically the same tune, but in a different tuning. It still makes them pretty awesome, though. In a world where bubblegum was war, yeah. Oh yeah, also this game has suddenly appearing bats, so I gotta watch out for those. there's one over here too. That's kind of a weird thing in the beginning where if you play this casually for the first time, you'll just keep walking probably and think, oh, suddenly there's bats. Why is there bats? Yeah, the face is incredibly hype. When I saw this, I kind of instantly wanted to make it into a Twitch emote, so that's, as soon as I got affiliate, that's pretty much what I did. Because it's such an epic victory hype type of thing. Also, this rat that I'm currently fighting, it's basically the same approach you take, normally speaking, without bubblegum, as you would do to the first boss, which was in fact Skuljagger himself. So now we have passcode Claw is Mean Dog, which lets you start over from chapter 3. And so we are now heading into the jungle. The big jungle of Westica. Let's see, I do have enough time. I usually have to wait for this platform anyway, so... If I didn't have any red gems, I would have picked up the one that just appeared over there, but I actually had one still good to go. Oh, okay. So this is how you get to secret areas. I wasn't actually trying to get there, but this is sort of what it looks like. This is fine. Actually, it's totally fine. You don't have to worry about losing lives whatsoever. Like, if I get hit by anything, I will get instantly sent back to where I came from. So, I'm basically sending myself back right now. Starting over from where I was sucked into this secret area, so this is all fine. So I do have a lot of green gems. If I do collect 25 gems, I will be able to pick up an extra life. That doesn't happen that often, however, because the chance of getting hit by literally everything is relatively big. So I could try for it, but you know, as soon as I get hit once and I don't have any red gems anymore, I lose all of them. I lose all of the green gems. So that's totally fair, I would say. Also big statues. Just gonna attack them a few times so they are a little bit higher and I can get underneath them. Okay, so now we are actually in Skuljagger's prison, which is also the name of this chapter. I'm gonna go over here because, well, it's faster and it also is probably safer. It gives you some gems, which is definitely not a bad thing. Also, so many of these rooms, when there's lots of sprites on screen, there's an immense amount of lag. Like, you may have seen it just now in one of the levels in chapter 2 where I was in the pirate ship, but yeah, there was definitely lots of lag there. It sometimes just slows down some of the music, which is clearly the case of this game being well programmed. I just love that soldier is just, yeah, basically waiting to get down there, and you can't instantly attack it. Like, it doesn't have a hitbox until it has actually reached the ground and it actually starts moving and stuff. Like, before that you can literally not do anything to it. So the story keeps referring to some other characters being there. So it's not just Storm Jackson who is traveling all this way, but he's traveling with a couple of friends of his. one of whom is a friend of his called Wits, and the half-sister of that same friend called Trina. And Storm Jackson also has a father called Co Jackson, who at this point, by the way, has gotten captured by the Killjish army. So you didn't know this, but we secretly have to rescue him. Even though none of these characters are actually shown during the game, you only hear of them throughout through the story itself. So it would have been interesting to see what would have happened if they actually decided to make those playable characters, because that would have been a good opportunity for sure, I think. And also note grabbing that barrel because it has a cherry bubblegum, and I tried to keep this, of course, for the next boss fight, which also can be done very quickly. I can just cheese that. Also, you got these claws just jumping upwards. Very scary claws. You're welcome. Is this a slim Steve Seagal? Might be. I don't know. I would say this much though. Storm Jackson is my favorite hero. My all-time hero for sure. Okay, so if I didn't have to come here, I would stand on these barrels and I would duck and hit as soon as Skuljagger approaches, and then jump as soon as he passes underneath me, and repeat it until he's dead. Also, yeah, you saw that correctly. Skuljagger can walk on air, so he's got powers too. You know, he's got powers. Okay, so according to Chapter 4, the war begins. So once again, we're back in the streets of a city, and as you can see, there's been lots of riots here for some reason. So there has been a war going on. I can do a couple of nice jumps here. Easy enough. Also, I think I just gotten an extra life though, because I had gotten 25 gems. I was looking at the counter just now and it was showing 23, so I think I may have gotten an extra life just now, which is not bad because I lost quite a few in the first level. Big Wild Angry Fly. Yeah, I love these passwords so much. Which makes me sad that there are not a lot more as you go beyond Chapter 4 though. Like, you could have made so many more combinations with the words that you currently have. I don't know. What do you think, Chai? What else would make a good password? What would be a good, cool password for this game? Just get a little bit creative in this on this morning, this early morning. Lots of these bugs that are just jumping up to make my life difficult. And lots of flying ninjas on this island too. So with these snakes, they can be quite tricky to deal with. They can be quite tricky to kill because sometimes you're descending from this hill and there's a couple of snakes there, and of course they tend to be in a position where they stick their necks out and you can barely hit them, so that is also gonna be a thing to deal with later on in Chapter 5, I believe. So let's hope that works. Okay. Small comb, happy turtle. I like that. That's a cool one. Big greasy long ponytail. Yeah, the swing range is not necessarily bad. Like if the sword hits, then you can reach quite a while with it. But yeah, sometimes you know you try to hit and it doesn't quite get there, and some of the hitboxes tend to be a bit well, unpredictable, I would say. Sometimes it feels as if you shouldn't be hit by anything, and you know, you still get hit. So that's kind of weird at times. So the controls sometimes feel a little bit, well, janky, I would say. Oh crap. So for the record, we are currently in a lighthouse. It's a pretty big lighthouse, I would say. Lots of windows, lots of ninjas and rats and everything. Like, everybody's here, so... Apparently this is a very popular lighthouse. So you saw that green bubblegum over there. I'm actually going to use that during the next boss fight. Since it's of quite a different character than what came before. But you'll see that soon enough. Like, let me give you one sneak preview. It's not going to be just one boss. It's not going to be just one enemy I have to defeat. Yeah, by the way, if you want to look up the story, you can find it on Google. Like, I have tracked it down a while ago, but someone posted it on a blog somewhere, so that's really cool. Light Castle. Yup. Okay, so now the war begins and we encounter this boss right here. So, it's this group of battle dogs that I have to defeat. That's why I'm currently using this gum, and it's really cool though. It sends you all across the room. It's kind of a nice thing that you see here. Okay, so now we have two more to defeat, and those are over there. So this is a relatively slow approach I'm taking to this fight, just in order to stay alive, really. So I try to hit them as they jump over me towards the left, and for the time being, I will try and duck as much as possible, so I know I won't get hit by these battle dogs. So I've got one more to go, still a lot of health apparently, so it seems like they don't all have the same amount of health. It's kind of hard to say really, but I think I've tried this once with Great Bubblegum, but of course the Great Bubblegum is incredibly slow, so before you can get to defeating everybody, you run out of the effect wears off basically. So now we have the final password, which is Fly Home Lazy Sword. So if you love the passwords, well, that's where it ends really. Okay, so from this moment on, if I would die and... Well, if I die, I usually have a game over, but if I would die completely and have no continuity anymore, I would have to start over from this point on again. And keep in mind, I have to play up until chapter 7, so I would play through 3 chapters worth of this game. So that's a whole lot. Also, this beginning is a bit tricky sometimes. Gotta make sure to keep some gems with me, because I do lose quite a few at times because lots of jerk birds here. Fly Home Lazy Sword. Okay, some more Hillside action. These soldiers are not so bad though. It's just these jerk birds throwing coconuts. That's the main issue here, really. I would grab the red gem if I would not have any currently in my inventory, but in this case I did, so it's actually fine. And this is where the snakes start getting kind of rude, as in they just are on the lower side of that hill and you have to still try and hit them without getting hit yourself. And without gems you can sort of see how that can be a problem. Sounds like an Elton John song. Hmm. That's a good idea, actually. That's a good idea. Oh hey, it's this song again, except sounding a bit differently. Yeah, in the beginning of this level you mostly have lots of flies or bees or whatever that you have to take out. There's this thing, if you save at checkpoints, it also remembers what enemies you have defeated and which you haven't. So if you just go to the checkpoint and you haven't defeated any nearby enemies, chances are that you will instantly get killed by the enemies as soon as you start over from that point again. So there's an instance of this in one of the earlier levels. That has happened to me yesterday actually, which was really horrible. But yeah, if you take them out and then should you happen to die, then you can just restart from that point. So we now got some more flying creatures over here. Also throwing coconuts. Everybody seems to throw coconuts or something. I feel really bad for the trees that usually hold them, because they must be missing them. Oh, okay, good job. I'm just gonna grab this. Okay, so this is a pit where, as far as I know, I kind of have to fall into. You know, you think it's possible to jump onto that platform, but I don't think I've ever managed that. So you could do this with a grape bubblegum as well, but it's actually a little bit slower, even though you're instantly able to bounce out of that pit. So that's a plus, but of course it takes a while to get back to your normal self and start running again. Okay, so now for the shortest level in the game, perhaps. The shortest level that's not a boss fight, because this is almost nothing but run and jump. We're heading towards this lost city, which is apparently nearby, and there's lizards all of a sudden. So, you know we're on the way to something. But yeah, one of the dangers is this bird. That's all. For the rest, it's just making sure that you know where all the enemies are, so you don't get yourself into any surprises or anything. And well, this is it. So now we face off against this dragon. We will do this with a grey bubblegum, but we have to get it from a somewhat higher place. So as soon as this dragon is out of the way, we use this cherry bubblegum to blow a balloon and then get ourselves up here. Stand over here, and from the middle we will do all of the hits that we need to do. And the dragon is smart enough to stick around here, literally, so I can do all of the hits that I want to do. And that makes this a really fast fight. If I didn't have this, then it would be a much tougher fight. Like, the dragon would fly around in circles and you would have to make sure not to constantly get hit by it. So, if you compare to that, then this is definitely the easier option. So now we are for real in the Lost City. It's gonna be some more lizards, and there's also gonna be lots of ghosts. Just so you know, it's gonna be lots of them. So hopefully you're not too spooked by ghosts in general, because as soon as I jump down here, it's gonna be a very long jump. Where will I go? Where will this end? I have no idea. Well, it ends here. And hopefully I can use this gum the right way so I can sort of give myself a head start. If used correctly, I can get up here faster than with these moving platforms, so that's kind of what I'm hoping to get here. Also, if you stand on moving platforms, you can activate bubblegum like instantly, so you don't even have to blow the bubble, it's already there. as if it came pre-packaged or something. Like you just do that and you can instantly start flying. It's kind of cool. And some of these ghosts tend to be double ghosts, which is a thing to keep in mind for sure, because especially if you try to really go too fast or something, then yeah, I totally found the lost city. So apparently the sword that Storm Jackson uses has this spirit in it or something that came from this lost city. So we're basically bringing it back to where it came from, and let's see, I don't currently have the rest of that lore though. But yeah, this voice inside of that sword has this history with this place. Also, lots of ghosts here. This game has, this level especially has lots of ghost lag. Which in a certain way is beneficial, I guess. I mean, it can pretty much set you up for whatever you try to do. All the ghosts are here, like this is literally a ghost town. Seems like I'm good on the gems so far. So here I can just run off. Not too much of a big deal. Yeah. Yeah, I know what you mean. That board that you saw over there, it tends to jump really... It can actually jump really high. I've seen that happen too. Like in previous levels, it tends to do that. It's kind of interesting. Okay, so now we go into a nearby weapons room. Supposedly it holds lots of ancient plasma blasters, according to the story. And you'll see those really shortly. This is the part where I try to keep as many gems as I can, because it tends to be quite difficult without gems, thanks to all of these ghosts. But that's the first part. So from this moment on, there's still a couple of things that I still need to take care of. Like there's a ghost over here. There's the double ghost over here, which was standing a bit too close to. These statues. So yeah, these are supposed to be ancient plasma blasters. I could pick this up, yeah. I totally should pick this up. I was running a little bit low. So, you see all these ghosts, but we're gonna encounter a really big spoopy ghost as the next boss. In a way, it's a logical conclusion, if anything, so... ancient plasma blasters, that's what they are called. So again, we'll be using this green bubblegum here to send us all across the room, which will give us a bit of an advantage for this boss fight. And for the rest, we try to keep this enemy at a certain height so we are able to walk underneath it. And yeah, there's a lot of lag in this room. I mean, there's all of these smaller ghosts, there's big ghosts. It's all really spoopy. French flag with a sword? Well, it has those colors, doesn't it? So, we are heading off towards the final battle. And apparently Code Jackson, Storm Jackson's father, has been freed again, so we are traveling alongside again with the entire party. Although you don't see him in the game, so... But it's good to know that he is safe once again. This in a way looks like level 1, except... well, apart from the assets being reused, I guess, it's in fact a different level. And it's also shorter, like we only have to climb up these stairs, and then there's actually a bridge, just like in the very first level. But apart from that, it's kind of a nice little breeze of a level. There's these soldier dudes throwing grenades at me. No big deal. I can just keep walking, it's all fine. So we are now into the village of Six-Up. And the Westicans drove the Killers all the way into the village of Six-Up. The belt raged through the streets with Storm leading all the way. So... yeah, at this point we're basically fighting back. Let me get up here, because there is a red gem over here, which is definitely useful, because there's going to be a couple of soldiers firing at me, and it's always nice if you have the red gem so you can fire projectiles from a certain distance. See, gotta make sure to get through here, just before the rock drops, because it may be a small rock, but it does do a lot of damage. Well, actually it does as much damage as the rest, but it's something to watch out for. Okay, over here we have even more flies. If I would be without red gems at this point, I would pick up some over here. So yeah, I would have a buffer of sorts, but I had one, so I didn't need it anymore. And as the war's raging on, I just head to the exit. So that brings us to 7-3, which is very close to the end of this game. It's not the easiest level though. There's gonna be some things, especially earlier on, I would say, that can be very tricky. It's a question of really knowing. I think as soon as you know where all of the enemies are placed, more or less, then it's quite a bit easier to get through. Like, you have this section where you got these soldiers in a row, and you know, okay, with the red gem it's a lot easier to get through that, for instance. Also, I never have to worry about those holes that fire off rocks, because if I just keep running, I never wind up getting caught by any of that. I'm gonna defeat all of these flies over here. So one thing I'm picking up here is this grey bubblegum over here. That in fact makes this last boss fight in fact a lot marathon safer, because before this I used to do this the manual way, or in a non-bubblegum way, I guess. Okay, made that jump. It looks really clutch, but it's actually doable. But yeah, since I have enough lives, I'm gonna show you of how I used to do this fight before I knew there was a grey bubblegum in this level. So you get to see both ways, and with a little bit of luck I'm actually able to defeat it the original way. Also, these wall paintings are really cool. Nice sense of history there. There's a lot to chew on. Nice. There is. Let's see, a couple of flies over here. This is still a bit tricky because you still have to be aware of some of these flies going really fast. You're supposed to ride those platforms, but you don't necessarily have to. You can just run off, and that's basically the end of it, really. Okay, so yeah, as promised, I have enough lives, so I can show you off how I used to do this. So, normally speaking, I would throw a couple of rocks at Skuljagger, and he starts throwing these axes, which is kind of scary too. Throw this too, and then I would just wait in this corner, wait for him to appear, and just keep button mashing and hoping that he doesn't actually run over me. Because if he would do that, then he would basically kill me. But I've actually killed it the original way, so now we can see him turn into a rat. And then he wanders off. Well, actually... Well, okay, I'm not sure if he's gonna turn into a rat or not. That's also the end of the game, by the way. Normally speaking, I would just use the grey bubble gun and then just stand in that position, and then as soon as the boss is down, that's basically the end of the game. So we have defeated Skuljagger Ingawa, which is the battle greeting that Skuljagger and his friends use. We have saved the island of Westica from the cruel dominion of Captain Skuljagger. On this fine historic day, watch him triumph as rank upon rank of Kiltish troops, once the scourge of Westica, retreat across the ocean in defeat. And at your hands, Storm Jackson, Skuljagger himself has suffered the ultimate disgrace. Not only has he been defeated and his empire taken away, but he's been magically transformed into the lowliest creature of all, a rat. Celebrate, Storm, dance and sing through the streets of Tuskamesh. But be forewarned, even as you celebrate, a rat is making its way quickly through the nighttime jungle, scurrying towards the lost city of Ernan. Its purpose? One can only guess. Hey, thanks for the GGs, everybody. But as much can be said, there may be a time, Storm Jackson, where you'll once again be called upon to save Westica and the world from a cruel monster named Skuljagger. So that seems to hint at a sequel, which never was released, as a matter of fact, so this is what we have to deal with. Skuljagger will always remain a rat. So, too bad for him. But at least the island of Westica has been freed once again. So yeah, that's Skuljagger. Some swords and bubblegum action, as you just saw. I hope you enjoyed this. This was my swords double feature, I guess. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for Speed Gaming for organizing this, and thanks to SNES Superstars for having me run this. Super appreciated, and I super enjoyed it. And yeah, that's it for me. I'm gonna throw it back over to the next runner, and good luck with the rest of the marathon. There's gonna be lots more stuff coming up, so should be a good time. Yeah, but that's it. I'm on. Take care and enjoy.